if the universe swallowed them up. Yet, although these strange occurrences happen across the globe in various far-flung locales, there sometimes comes an area in which these vanishings happen to an unsettling degree. These are places that seem to be, in a way, kind of black holes that open up and draw in unfortunate souls and just essentially negate their existence. One such hotspot of strange disappearances is a picturesque area in Vermont that, for all appearances, seems to be a pristine nature spot, yet over the years has snatched away innocent souls who've never been heard from again. It has accrued a reputation as a place that is dripping with high strangeness, but also a place where people do not return. What has come to be known as the Bennington Triangle, or the Triangle of Doom, lies within a quaint area of southwestern Vermont within the Tectonics, correct me if I'm wrong, and the Green Mountains. It is well known as an idyllic, scenic locale favored by fishermen, hunters, and hikers. This region was so named in a public radio broadcast in 1992 by a New England paranormal author to describe the locale of a number of mysterious disappearances that occurred during a time frame of between 1945 and 1950. The borders of the Bennington Triangle are ill-defined, but they are largely thought to be centered at the Glastonbury Mountain and its surrounding towns, which include Bennington, Woodford, Shaftesbury, and Somerset. It is a beautiful historic area, with the town of Bennington being one of the oldest, honestly, chartered towns of colonial America, and it holds various historical landmarks such as Vermont's first church and numerous old logging settlements. The Bennington Triangle has long been a hotspot for a wide range of paranormal phenomena, to include UFO sightings, Bigfoot, strange sounds, lights, shadow people, and various other. My throat is making such weird noises. I'm sorry. Inexplicable happenings since at least the 19th century. Native people of the area consider it a cursed region and were said to shun venturing there, only daring to use it as a burial ground. Early loggers and settlers were startled by strange lights in the sky and many instances of wild men lurking within the dark woods, as well as enormous thunderbirds and various specters. Stories also abounded of people venturing in the area never to come back. They suffer miserable hardships, disease, or just go insane. And yet, for all of this really strange stuff, perhaps the most notorious and spooky stories to emerge from the so-called Bennington Triangle are its long history of unexplained and bizarre disappearances. Now, people have been mysteriously vanishing in the area for a long time. Since the earliest colonial days, there have been people who ventured into the wilderness and never came back. It was once thought that this was an area to be avoided at all costs, and that those who dared to set foot in the area were doomed never to return. Like I said, natives spoke of people vanishing, and early settlers and loggers also reported traveling hunters strayed ahead of the group and proceeded to simply vanish. A thorough search of the area turned up only a single shell from a hunter's rifle near the stream. And although Rivers had been coming along in years, both the hunters and authorities were perplexed as to where he could have gone, since he had been very familiar with the area and he was an extremely experienced hunter and woodsman. It was speculated that he may have leaned over the stream, and this is where the shell fell out of his pocket. But other than that, it remains a complete mystery as to what happened to him, and he has never been seen again. I mean, he could have had a heart attack or a health issue, but why didn't they find his body? There were no animals in the area large enough to carry off a full-grown man, unless you buy into the idea of Bigfoot. There was also not enough time for wildlife to consume his body and scatter the remains. Perhaps Mitty was having mental health issues and simply wandered off the trail and got lost. It's possible that he died many miles away from the search area. This could be a viable theory, but it doesn't explain the other disappearances that we're going to talk about. He could have been kidnapped and murdered far away from where he disappeared, and then the killer disposed of the body so well that the police were never able to discover it. I have no idea. The second disappearance occurred a mere year later, December 1946, when 18-year-old Paula Weldon, who was a sophomore at Bennington College, also vanished without a trace. She had finished her shift at the dining hall where she worked, and she'd gone back to her dormitory. She informed her roommate that she wanted to go out for a walk and get some fresh air. So she put on a red coat with a fur collar, jeans, and tennis shoes. Temperatures in Bennington, Vermont in December average between 22 and 38 degrees, so she wasn't really well dressed for a long walk, but she tried to find some friends to go with her, but nobody wanted to go. So she took a popular hiking trail called Long Trail up Glastonbury Mountain alone at 4 p.m. She was witnessed by many other hikers at the time, including a man by the name of Ernest Whitman, who she actually approached to ask how far the trail went. She was also seen on the trail by an elderly couple who were out hiking about 100 yards behind her. The couple claimed they saw her take a trail around a rocky outcropping, and when they rounded the same corner just moments later, she was nowhere to be seen, as if she had just vanished into thin air. When she failed to return to her room or show up for classes the next day, she was declared missing. A massive hunt was launched by authorities, including a $5,000 reward that was offered for information, and the FBI actually assisted in the investigation, but they never found any trace of Paula. There were several strange details about this particular disappearance, including the fact that the trail she disappeared on was well-traveled and not particularly secluded or difficult, as well as the fact that she had been relatively underdressed for a chilly evening walk, and it was forecasted to snow heavily that evening. Same thing. Quite possible that Miss Paula just wandered off the trail and got lost. She may have gone further into the woods and passed away from hypothermia. Her body could have gone undiscovered long enough for animals to take advantage of that, but it's a possibility and doesn't tie in with the rest of the disappearances. In this instance, a serial killer seems like the most logical explanation. She was dressed lightly. She may have been meeting somebody in the woods. She may have run into somebody on the trail who kidnapped and murdered her. Perhaps he took her in the woods and the animals took care of the rest. reached his destination. Nobody had any idea of where he could have gone, and he was never heard from again. I find that really weird. Like, did he jump out the window? What? How do people disappear off a moving bus? Whatever ominous force was at work here was not done yet. In October of 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson was playing on the farm where he lived with his mother. Paul's mother left him to play on his own while she tended to some pigs they had there on the farm. He had been playing happily and showed no sign of distress. Yet when the mother returned to check on him a little while later, he was nowhere to be seen. Authorities converged on the area with bloodhounds in an effort to track the missing boy down, thinking that he would very quickly be located due to the fact that he was highly visible in his bright red jacket. But no sign of him was ever turned up. At one point, the bloodhounds excitedly followed his scent to a nearby highway, where the trail simply stopped. Hundreds of volunteers gathered to scour the surrounding areas for any sign, but Paul Jensen was never found. The father would later give the eerie detail that the boy had recently showed an uncharacteristically strong urge to go up into the nearby mountains, almost as if they were somehow calling them into their clutches. A mere 16 days later, on October 28, 1950, Frida Langer, age 53, and her cousin Herbert Elsner were camping with a group of friends near the Somerset Reservoir, and they decided to go on a hike. At one point during this hike, Langer slipped and fell into the stream. She told her cousin that she was not injured, but she was soaked, and if he waited for her there, she would change her clothes and meet up with him. Considering that they were very near the campsite and it was broad daylight and there was no immediate danger, Elsner thought nothing of it and waited. He became concerned when over an hour passed and Frida had not returned. He made his way back to the campsite to see what was going on, but Frida was nowhere to be seen. In addition, none of the other campers had seen her return. After a cursory search of the area turned up nothing, the worried Herbert contacted authorities, who proceeded to launch a total of 5 extensive searches over the next 2 weeks, using dogs and helicopters. Yet the woman or any trace of her could not be found. It was really odd, as it had been daytime. She wasn't injured, and she was very familiar with the area. And in a bizarre twist, the following year, on May 12th of 1951, they found her decomposed body in full view in an open clearing near Somerset Reservoir, which was an area that had been extensively searched the previous year. Unfortunately, her body was so decomposed that a cause of death could not be determined. But who put her body there? Langer would turn out to be the only missing person of the Bennington Triangle mystery whose body has been found, and she is also the last major vanishing to be reported from there. All 5 of these mysterious disappearances have remained unsolved, which has invited a good amount of speculation as to what could be behind them, ranging from plausible to really far out there. That serial killer that may have been on the loose is popular and somewhat rational, yet the large variation in age, sex, appearance tends to not really fit in, at least with me, to the more focused tastes of serial killers. The only pattern that they could discern is that all these cases happened in the autumn or winter, but other than that, I had no relation whatsoever. There's also the idea that these people could have been victims of various dangers lurking in the wilderness, such as cliffs, unsteady trails, abandoned wells, animals. They could have just gotten lost, but in many of these cases, the missing people were really familiar with the area and the terrain. So searches turned up absolutely nothing is pretty weird if they had just gotten lost or succumbed to the wilderness. And what if Tetford, who disappeared in full view of a bus full of passengers? Some have also said that these people may have been disturbed souls who just escaped their lives to go somewhere else where no one would find them. Yet these were happy people who showed no signs of wanting to leave their loved ones. Branching out into the more fringe theories are the ideas that they were abducted by aliens, attacked by Bigfoot, some other mystery monster, swallowed up by some sort of interdimensional portal. Anybody ever seen the movie The Langoliers? That movie freaks me out. Mr. Doomy. Anyway, sorry, interdimensional portal brought that one up. Darn, that's Stephen King. There is also the fact that the native people of the area believe it to be cursed, inhabited by demons, and even the location of a mysterious rock that is said to devour people if they step on it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for a supernatural twist, but what is going on in the Bennington Triangle? Are there forces at work that are beyond our understanding and current knowledge? Are all these unrelated cases of people simply falling victim to natural forces or a desire to leave their lives behind, with their occurrence being merely coincidence? Seems like we'll probably never know. And only the missing people themselves are privy to the answers that we really, really want. What we do know is that there are foreboding places in this world that, for whatever reason, seem to draw people in and never let go. Places to which strangeness and inexplicable gravitate. Whether we can explain it or not, these locales possess some otherworldly quality, and on many occasions, such as the Bennington Triangle, seem to have a way of making people disappear. For now, it seems like the Bennington Triangle has been sated, but perhaps it waits. Whatever force that may be infecting this place is biding its time until it decides it's ready for its next victim. Again, I'm all for supernatural twists. I had to add the supernatural into that one. I don't think that it's Bigfoot. I'm so weird. Okay, so let's talk about the case, then we'll talk about supernatural stuff. Do I think it's weird that 5 people went missing in 5 years in the same place? Yes and no. If I had researched this case before I had done Ted Bundy, I would say, yeah, I think that's weird. The rest of me is gonna say, no, serial killer, very easily. 2 bright red jackets, very noticeable colors. The fact that the baby was, his scent led to the highway, somebody stuck him in a car and drove him away. I do still find it very, very odd that people go missing and are just never found. I know the world is a huge, huge place, and I don't know, I just think it's so odd that people can just poof. Now, supernaturally, again, I don't think it's Bigfoot. I believe in the Loch Ness Monster, but I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't think that aliens are involved. Now, I'm is sort of interesting. It's always unfortunate to me when the cases are that much older because I can't find details about these people. I went through so many articles trying to find out about these people because you guys know how I am. I want to know everything about what they look like, what they were doing, why did they go missing, did they really want to escape their lives? It's not very often for me to read about a case and be like, yes, that girl wanted to escape her life and so she ran away. I think that would be an incredibly hard thing to accomplish. You have to have documentation to work. You have to have an ID or social security. Most places require those things. I know, Ted found some work. I think that it would be incredibly hard to just disappear to, now, in 1945 or 1950, a lot easier than now. Now, I think that with all the connections that we have here in the world, it's a lot easier to locate people. Now, obviously, if you're running away, you don't hop on social media and post pictures of where you are, but I guess some people would. Some people are not that smart. Unfortunately, we do still have people going missing and people being attacked and murdered, and I think a lot of older cases are getting solved these days because they have protected the DNA from these cases, and there's still somebody out there working on these cases, which I think is phenomenal. Hard to do when the people are missing, but anyway, let me know if you guys enjoyed this, if you would like to see more cases like this with a little bit of a supernatural twist. I wasn't sure if you guys would like this one or not. I'm trying to get a good filming schedule. I kicked Sean out of the bedroom tonight because I had to film. Anyway, I think that's it. I will see you guys very soon.